going to be walking you down through how to write the literature review using AI automation and proper reference management. So everything I'm going to do in this course is going to be based on practicals, from being a beginner down to being a professional, particularly automating your skills using artificial intelligence. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Now, in my normal tradition, I might want to show some slides on how to write a literature review and some of the things you want to do. But I'm not going to be doing that right now. I'm going to be jumping straight into practicals. And everything I'm going to do, from getting the ideas from my head down to writing it, is going to be automated. So to work on this, I'm going to be using a reference manager. I don't mind what you see here about gene therapy. And aside from the reference manager, and I'm also going to be using OpenAI's LLM, which everybody knows, ChatGPT. And then, of course, I'm going to be working with the Word document. So I'm just going to close this. I'm going to open a new one. Now, before I actually continue, I just want to actually talk about some of the important things you need to know when you want to write a literature review. Is that, first of all, your literature review needs to have a structure. Your literature review needs to, it must have you must have to search and find relevant studies. There needs to be critical analysis and basically so many things. Okay, so literature review is something that is important. I'm not really going to be saying much about the slides because I want to just jump straight into practicals and how you can automate it. But it's also very important for you to know what a literature review looks like and sounds like. So critical analysis is something that is very important. And also, it's also very important for you to find reliable sources. I'm just going to show you a snapshot of that in this video. So we will focus largely on practicals and lessly on what? Theories. So yeah. Now, I could just say, okay, I want to work on a literature review right now, and I want something or title related to public health. Okay, so I'm just going to keep it simple. So regardless of your discipline, it's going to run definitely. And maybe I just want something related to public health, something that is population specific and also addresses a particular public health problem. I'm writing this expected to be at least 5,000. Okay, I'm just going to keep it simple, maybe 3,000 words. Let me have a suggestion of 5 topics. Let me choose one. Okay, so I'm just going to hit that. So also I have a grammar checker, but that doesn't really make any sense. So I'm just going to check out my, so I'm going to expand this a bit, keep this here so that we can see my screen together. So we're going to write this review to seem very publication savvy and related, and all the best practices in search strategy still applies. So whichever you have in mind. Yeah, so these are some titles I might want to work on. You might also want to work on whatever. Details of the prompt is going to be shared in the comments. Okay, so this one is talking about adolescent have mental health rise of self-harm behaviors in the United Kingdom Republic of perspective. And it could just be anything, okay? It could be anything that you have in mind, whatever. But I'm just going to make this a bit related. We're going to make some kind of modifications to this prompt. So I'm sure this is something you're familiar with. I want something tied around maybe epidemiology. Epidemiology, if you're listening, is a field of public health. And maybe AI. Okay? All right, so yes, so let's have that. Okay. Yeah, we just want something trending a bit, okay, that we can submit. Okay, so let us take whichever one. So I think I'm going to, maybe I can go for, okay, let's go for the first one. Now I'm just going to paste that here. And first I'm going to say is, okay, I am going for this first one. I'm going for this, getting a compelling outline for this. Just a simple outline or simple outline. So remind me, and also make suggestion for tables. Okay. All right. So I think I'm just going to expand this a bit now. Now, if you look at what you have here now, you realize that I first of all want to have I want to have an outline, and also I also made requests for some tables that I want to be presented inside of it, because basically that's what makes a literature review very strong. So let us just go online and just search for random malaria review in Africa. Okay, I can also just search maybe cholera outbreak in Africa. Okay, just type my name. Now, if you look at some of these papers that I'm trying to get out of here, you see that this is a literature review that was written. This literature review, published by NA, addresses cholera outbreak trends in Nigeria. Okay, and you can look at the structure of what the author has detailed here. It contains an introduction, and it has other relevant areas like sections, trends. You're definitely going to find a table here. You see determinants of risk factors of cholera outbreak. Now, basically, like I said, what I wanted to picture this as, think about this as, you want to write a literature review and you want to make it sure it's published, okay? And there are key insights that your literature review must uncover. You're going to see another heading here. You see efforts in mitigating cholera outbreaks in Nigeria. You're going to see policies, everything in structures. You're going to see innovative approaches, and you've seen the relevant figures and where these figures are adapted, properly cited, and that's the conclusion, and that's it. Okay. All right. So this is actually how simple a literature review that you can write can actually get published. Basically, writing a proper introduction, and using the right outline for it. And this is something that is not really different from what we want to do here. We want to understand how artificial intelligence and epidemiological surveillance can transform malaria detection in sub-Saharan Africa. So I'm just going to go back straight up into it. Now, if I was going to explain what you need to do when you're prompting literature review, is that what most people might do is that they might just come here, copy this introduction, paste it here, and actually ask the LLM to generate this introduction for them. But this is not something we're going to be doing in this session. Reason being that we're going to try as much as possible to be very specific in some of the things that we're going to be writing, to make sure or capture all the relevant insights that we have to search from web using ChatGPT. So what it means is that you can actually be using ChatGPT, but you can be using it in the wrong way. But with the guise of this session, I think you can actually learn how to get the very best out of it and also manage your references appropriately. Now, traditionally, the very first thing you might want to do to get started with writing is I might just come here and maybe I could just create a folder, and I'm going to call this for malaria manuscript. Now, the next thing I'm going to do right away now is to start prompting. Now, for me to actually commence now, I can just toggle on this. Okay, we can actually get out the keywords. Traditionally, I'm going to paste this here. Okay, right. I'm going to change that to Times New Roman. Okay. Now for this literature review, we might have an abstract, of course. Then we're going to have an introduction. Then what next are we going to have in this literature review? We're going to have these headings. Okay. Now let's pay close attention to this publication here. Okay, I'm just going to be quick. Okay, so okay, there are cases of case studies, and I'm going to go to the next one, opportunities and benefits. And we've got challenges and limitations. Okay, so I'm just going to change everything to Times New Roman. And the last one is going to be a what? Conclusion. Okay, so I'm just going to copy that. Okay, that command doesn't work here. And then we'll have references. All right, so that's it. So everything is structured right now. Now, basically, if we want to traditionally write this, the first thing we need to do is to develop a search strategy to get all the relevant literature. And now here we have epidemiology, and we have malaria, and we have Africa. I'm just going to call it Africa. Okay, or I can say all sub-Saharan Africa. Now, even if you want to work on this now, for example, now you want to go to maybe sites like Google Scholar, and then the next thing you might do, maybe you want to just do kind of the browse search to get started. Okay, sorry, I didn't spell it out correctly. Good. Now, what this means exactly here now is that before we start working on our literature, we might need some of these citations. And right, so we need to read a lot of papers around epidemiology in Africa and maybe blah 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 with AI and all that. Okay. I don't think we added artificial intelligence to our search term. Okay, I'm just going to quickly correct that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add AI and okay, I can see or artificial. Okay, now listen. So what this is I actually want to make very clear to you is that some of what I've imputed here is what we call Boolean operators and Boolean operators. Okay, if you don't know what Boolean operators are, then I think you can actually check out my previous video or my course where I've explained how to develop a compelling search strategy. Now, the first thing we're going to do when we make a search to write our traditional literature review, remember we're talking about the normal traditional literature review, is that we just want to download the PDFs of some of these articles, okay? Or probably you might just maybe basically create a new file and maybe some of the insights you want to gather from this. Okay, let me just put it this way. Maybe we want to call this. Maybe let me save it as our I'm going to save this as our abstract of the study. Abstract of maybe we can call it something like articles for literature review. Okay, cool. So I've saved that. So what this means is that all the articles we're going to be using for this study, we're going to be saving it here, okay? And what one of the advantages of this is that it actually saves you from a lot of issues, okay? Because sometimes when you're writing with AI and you're relying on references that are generated by artificial intelligence, you're prone to mistakes. And just like you can see, a ChatGPT can actually make a lot of mistakes. And this is something that's also associated with a lot of LLMs out there. They hallucinate and they tend to put you into error. So essentially, you might want to, either you download the articles or you copy the abstract of each article and you paste it here. So I'm just going to call this article 1 abstract from article 1. Now, this is something we usually do whenever we usually do this whenever we are trying to perform a systematic review, okay? And I'm just going to do it for a few of them. Then I think basically I'm going to rely on searching the web, okay? All right, so let us go a bit traditional in order to keep accuracy. So I could just copy the citation of this, probably in whatever, and then probably just paste it here, okay? This is the what? This is the article. I'm just trying to make it bold. So I'm going to do the same thing for article 2. Article 2, probably I have read this paper on maybe some insights here might be used in my background or maybe in the process of writing my literature review. I'm going to get the citation. So I'm going to put this 2. And I'm going to say, okay, so I'm just I'm just going to push that up a bit. Now, this is what I might want to be doing, okay? But this is going to take so much time. All right, it's going to take so much time. Or maybe I want to download the PDF, attach the PDF to whatever place. I could just save it at my desktop here. Okay. Then maybe while I want to write, I might just want to attach all of them here and ask prompt AI to make sure it reads this PDF. That's also another process. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set my search to the web. So I'm going to go to more, search more, set it to the web. So what it now entails now is that I'm going to be really prompting very skillfully. Okay, so I'm just going to dive straight into that. So the next I'm going to do now is I'm going to come here. So I'm going to click on introduction. I'm going to say using maybe APA citations or maybe Harvard. Okay, syntax. Once I start the introduction, detailed. Okay. It may be 400 words, okay? Then I'm just going to paste the introduction again. I highlight it, ask GPT, go up. I'm not going to say, okay, why discussing introduction. Okay, let me just get why discussing. Ensure that every statement may be cited and also ensure that you extra relevant argument in writing. In writing this piece of evidence, okay? Make sure to support with relevant theories. And so if you're actually training your LLM all in, we can do 500. And let it also contain the rationale. Okay, I'm going to expand this so that we see my screen clearly. Of this will be. That is why this is important. So I'm going to hit that, okay? So basically, I want to make sure it searches the web and gets me this information that is quite insightful. So maybe I might just want to just check this out. Already is dropping some of the citations here in Bangkok, which I'm going to claim. Remember, you still have to touch it yourself. I'm going to say, list the references. Okay, so basically, what I want, one of some of the actually want you to take home from this write up here. Now, it's not just the fact that we're prompting here, but it's how we actually giving the prompt and the quality through which we are using to write this. So when I click on this now, I think it should take me to malaria page fact sheet, where I got us those information. And if I actually click on this also, it should take me there as well. Now let us actually try and look at other areas of analogy literature. Let's click on this. This is talking about unraveling this, okay, in scientific reports. And that's just how it is, okay? You see how when I click it to try and verify if the references are correct. All right, so I'm just going to close that. Now, the next thing you might want to do as a researcher right now who is writing a literature review now is for you to just, I'm going to copy this, okay? Just going to copy that. And now, there are actually some modifications maybe you might want to do, okay? Remember the first time I did show us this example of this review. You see how it was written, contains introduction. So whenever you write, you need to signpost yourself with something very important. Publish in Frontiers at Public Health. And you can actually see that all the evidences are backed. What do you mean by backing evidence? Is that when you're writing your literature review, you need to make sure that you are citing statements. Anything you cite, anything you copy, you must make sure you do it. You attach the appropriate reference to it. So I'm just going to come here and I'm going to click on this. And yeah. Okay, so usually what I'm going to do now is I have to now read the introduction, go through it line by line to be sure it contains some of the things I want. And also maybe probably I might want to humanize the text, okay? I might want to do what humanize it. Probably turn some things to maybe some line of thoughts that I don't really find valid. I can just, humanize it and all that. So yeah. And also make sure that all the statements are cited. Take for example now this first line here was not cited. Maybe I could just come and say according report by World Health Organization. Yeah, it's going to click. I think it's handling there. So okay, yeah, that's it. So yeah, that's it basically. And I think subsequently when you write what article just put WHO, this should be Z if you're reporting. Okay. Okay, nothing really serious. I'm going to edit this in my WPS file. You might be using Word, that's still fine. I think I'm just gonna paste it here. And let me increase the font size to 14. Something we can all get our eyes on, I don't know why they're asking me to upgrade. Why should I pay for Microsoft now? Now, one of the challenges we have is if you've not watched my video where I talk about how to write a literature review, you can actually go back to my course. Is that whenever we are citing a literature review, or maybe we're writing an academic literature, it's usually advisable not to cite a journal, and that's where you need to get yourself in. Okay, you might cite a real literature, but citing a journal that's large, we need to cite papers that are published and yeah, that's just basically where I'm going to come in and using my reference manager. So the first thing I'm going to do now, probably when I'm done getting what I want to generate is to maybe humanize my text, to surpass detection and getting straight by actually prompting humanly. That's how I'm going to actually explain that. So we're going to go back there straight away and I'm going to collapse this as well. So that, yes, I think it's okay this one. Okay. So remember what I said, we need to humanize text, humanize it. So what do I humanize it? Changing the how it's phrased, some of the statements, you might want to back them up. Let's say, for example, you want to provide more support to some statements here, or maybe WHO made a publication on this. You want to add more, support more, and basically apply why research remains research. Okay, and these are actually some of the things that you introduce to your academic write-up in literature review. That makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to actually now pop straight up right here, and yeah, so I'm going to be sharing the prompts, detailed prompts to the community. And I think we're going to just move to the next line, which is the second part of it, the body, epidemiological body. Now, something tricky is here, when you look at our outline, you see that we did mention that we would be needing some kind of tables, okay? So we also want to generate those tables because they make our evidence, retain a lot of strength. So what I'm going to do now is I just pasted the second one there. I'm going to go up a bit, and I think I'm going to just extract that prompt again. Probably this time this is going to be in 200 words or maybe 300. This is going to discuss the epidemiology. So I assume that you already have skills in understanding what is required in a literature review, okay? And we're just going to keep it here at 300. I already said that before, and I think I'm going to modify some things. Make sure it supports with relevant data. Okay, since we're talking about epidemiology, okay, and in just a paragraph, in just a paragraph, a detailed paragraph. Okay, I don't think that rationale is going to be there. Then I'm now going to come down. Now I'll take the first table. Okay. Now follow it up with, yeah, I'm going to hit that straight up. Now what's going to happen now is that it's going to generate that paragraph. I wouldn't really want to maybe kind of to duplicate some things or maybe write what I've already written before. Basically, I'm just going to copy that. Then I'm going to scroll up right up here and paste that. I don't really think I'm going to be working with more of these. Okay, this is just going to be the key and maybe some certain things. Maybe these notes. Okay, I think I'm going to be more contented with this. And yes, that's. Now, one of the things you need to understand is that whenever you're writing or you're introducing a table in your literature review, for example, remember we are full-blown AI automation. That's what we're talking about in this video. Whenever you're introducing a table, like whatever table you want it to be, you must make sure it is cited in the text. Okay? I think maybe I can just take out, yeah. So what I mean is that should be something like refer table one. Okay, then yes, I think I can now cross check this properly. Probably remove some elements that are overriding the model. Okay, sounds like okay. Yeah, so also Wikipedia data should be replaced. You don't really need to have those in your literature review, okay? So literature review is very easy to write. So this can also apply in your traditional dissertation. And yeah, I'm going to be explaining more details in other videos, what some of the things you can also do to fast track your literature review. So I'm going to, I think I'm just put it at 1.5 and everything should be 12. Now, the next thing I'm going to do now is I think we might have to position this table properly and let's look at the table tools. Yeah, more familiar with okay, I can just, yes, make it this way. I think some things in these tables might not really be, maybe, probably whatever, okay? Whenever you're writing yours, you may need to refer back to the article and verify. Okay, so I think we move to the next one. That is where we might not have to have is some kind of claims of artificial intelligence. I would advise you to, generate the reference, generate the references with the verifiable link for this last prompt. Okay, and then I think I'm just going to move straight to the very next one. Remember, it's very important for you to be very specific. And yeah, so if I'm just going to paste this here, yes, I'm just going to drag this down a bit. And okay, basically, we'll have to just copy this. Yeah, I'm going to now replace this part with discuss this. Remember, this was where I copied down from. And let's check out if there's any other table that's going to be supported with that. Well, we can still continue with this. I'm just going to tell it, please, no repetition of what I've said from the beginning of this conversation. Okay, and I have a better way to say that. That's perfect. All right, so remember to make sure you set that search on the web. So this is basically how we continue to navigate some of the areas. So I'm just going to make that faster a bit. And so I think I copied that. So I think I'm going to remove AI. That's my statement in the beginning. Yeah, sometimes some people don't like to have this hyphen. I don't know why I'm having this done to search. Presumably how I did copy it. Okay, I'm just going to. Okay, so I think we can actually see that, and yeah, it's making a lot of sense. And okay, so I now want to break it down a bit to another paragraph. Same thing can actually happen in the other one, and yeah, I have table two, whatever table two is. I don't know. I don't care what it is, and I think I'm just going to get the table. This is some of the summary of. Okay, so you have to validate all this, and yeah, that's it. So I'm just going to change everything to Times New Roman for easy readability. Now, the next thing I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to show us how you can actually use Zotero to manage your references before I continue. Now, this is something that is quite very important for you as a researcher. Already, we've just showed you how you can automate your skills, maybe probably prompt, get some best out of it, search the web. What do you mean by searching the web when you come to maybe some of the references I can actually ask it to. List the references with verifiable link. Okay, so actually to hit this, the next thing it actually does is it will provide me with the references, and then I can now click the references and verify the link. This is stored by Olawade. You probably click this to make sure it is from what Olawade. All right, and it was also published in Frontiers and Public Health, and that's actually a very good place. It does. So I can actually check the next one, and it was published by Miranda. Okay, good. Now, essentially, you might want to continue checking out all this to verify your data to make sure you're actually in the right mode and all that. So this is it. But yeah, there might not actually be too much of that time. And particularly depending if you're working on a very, very large literature review. So what I believe you can actually do is to make sure that you maybe probably when you want to actually start confirming references and support some statements that are not cited, you might want to basically add your citations. Now, I'm going to show you how you can how you can import references using a reference manager. Now, this is what we call Zotero Reference Manager. Okay, this is just an interface of what it seems like. Okay, and we're going to be using Google Scholar. Now, remember, I did when I started this lecture, I did a search. Now, let's assume you are writing this your literature review, and there are some certain areas that you want to append with citations. Okay. Now, what are you going to do? Now, basically, the first thing you're going to do now is to use a reference manager to address that. Okay. You wouldn't want to do it manually. Look at what I'm trying to talk about. What I'm trying to talk about now is let's look at this line here. Okay. Let's look at this line here. Now, if you look at this line of text here now, for example, you see that there is what? There might not really be any citation back in this statement. Okay, in as much as it might be an introductory statement that is trying to pose a form of evidence. But what we're trying to say that is that sometimes it will require that you as the reader or the writer or whatever wants this work to be supported with evidence. And what evidence? Citation. So what we're going to do basically now is when you go down back to where we did our search strategy, okay, I'm just going to pick it here. Remember we added and AI and activate. Okay, this is all that I have an and. So these are what we refer to as what? Boolean operators. We call this one Boolean operators. So these are strings that we use in our search strategy. All right, maybe performing any sort of what search. Now I'm just going to. I think I don't really like so much tabs being open. Besides, I'm not really a fan of that. I'm just going to search on Google Scholar. Paste that. Now, what it means is that if we want to save our citations from Google Scholar to maybe Zotero as a reference manager, so the first thing we're going to do now is we're going to create a folder. So I'm going to click on Save, and this is something creating new. I'm going to click on Create New. We're going to call this Malaria Epidemiology. So I'll click on Done. So when I now click on Site, no, not on Site, when I click on Save, I'll click on this. It is already saved already. So let's say I'm interested in this literature already. I read the title, probably check the abstract. I'm interested in it. I'm going to click on Save, and I'll select Malaria. So I'm going to go to the next one, click on Malaria, and yes, I'm just going to click on this. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to click on Malaria. So this is just basically what I'm going to be doing. Okay, let me just save a few more and click on Save. Click on Save. Save. Malaria. Done. Okay, let's say I'm okay with this and I don't want to, I think I'm done with this. And let's say I want to just work with this. So I'm going to just go to my library. Look at it here. I'll come here. Remember, I will go to my library. I'll click on Malaria Epidemiology, and I'm going to click on Export Report. I think I'm going to export this as maybe a reference. Yes. So these are actually extensions that you can use in exporting your references. Okay. So if you use the CSV extension, it exports it as a CSV Excel sheet file. You can check that out when I click on that. It automatically creates an Excel sheet. And when I open it, it takes me to what? An Excel interface. So CSV means comma separated value. So this is what it is, okay? But I think that's not what I'm interested in. I'm just interested in an extension that is going to be compatible with Zotero, which is a reference manager. If you go down to our previous video, you're going to see how we might have explained about Zotero. Maybe in my next video, I might do a refresher on that. So I'm just going to go to Zotero right now. And remember the extension that I used in saving all my files, I used the what? The refman extension. So I'm going to go to Zotero. When I go to Zotero, Zotero is a reference management software which we use in managing our references. I'm going to click on File. Then I'm going to click on probably new collection. I'm going to call it Malaria Epidemiology. Okay, I've created that collection. Now I want to import some files. So I'm going to click on Import. BBTeX, RIs, Zotero, RDF, and all that. I'm going to go to Next. Now I'm going to just go to my downloads because that's where I downloaded that reference extension, and that's this. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to click on Next. That's it. I'm going to click on Finish. So these are the references that I have imported. Now I'm going to just move it to the Malaria collection, right, that I've created, and I can now title this as what? Maybe my. So I can now title this as my maybe AI refs. Okay, that's fine. So I'll click on Enter. Now the next thing I'm going to do now is When I come to this particular software here that I'm working on, okay. Now let's assume I'm done with this manuscript now, and I want to now kind of automate some citations. Maybe I've read some papers, and I read the paper on maybe malaria burden disproportionality and all that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my cursor here. If I want the citation to be at the beginning of the sentence, I can actually set it here and maybe talk about it. And this guy pointed this, but basically, I want it to be at the end. I'm going to click on Zotero. I'm just going to click on Add Citation. Immediately I click on Add Citation, automatically it's going to give me a pop-up where I can now select probably the references that I'm interested in. That's just what it's going to do for me. And then I'm going to add it there. But I'm not going to click on that for the sake of this video, okay? All right, so whenever he adds it, then I can now set this on my reference list. And when I go to my references, I'll set it here. I'm just going to click on edit bibliography there, and it's going to list out all the references. Okay, so maybe in our other videos, we're going to explain how to use it with Word, because currently I'm using WPS and all that. Okay, so that's it. So it's actually very easy to use. You can also use EndNote, can use Mendeley. These are other reference manager that you can use in managing the references for your project. So to get and to end this session, I'm just going to add some other few lines here, and also show you how you can now basically arrange your literature review. And yes, so essentially, I think we've just done for applications. I could just copy this. I remember I need to set it as search web. I'm going to keep this here. And then basically, I'm going to come up and click on, I think I'm just going to come up here. Okay, I think we haven't copied the table for AI, AI intelligence in public health epidemiology. Okay, but it's something not different to copy. I'm just going to come down and yeah, so I'm going to copy that, go back here. I think we'll have, probably we have, yes. So that is mechanistic. I'm going to just shorten that. Okay, yeah, we have, and that's it here. You can find it mechanistic. So we're going to move to the next one. So I'm going to take this. We will now discuss this. I'll replace it here. Remember, you might still want to advance your prompt. You might say in 500 word, maybe there are other relevant things you want to capture while you're writing and all that. But it's all dependent on you and how you want it to look like. But some of the things that you need to understand is that you have to try and, as much as possible, to be very specific. You need to make sure that whatever thing you're writing is detailed and it captures relevant insights. Okay, all right. So and yeah, if there is need for you to take off statistics and maybe probably write maybe and back it with theories, that's fine. Maybe you want it to be 600, wherever. Ensure to search the web and all that. Yes. So I think I might still want to add another table. There are still suggestions for figures, okay? Outside of tables, you might still want to add figures. For example, maybe I can just maybe want to search this, or you might want to create your own figure. Sorry, I think that was the wrong search. You might still create a figure. There are a lot of applications that you can use in creating, kind of malaria morbidity hotspot heat map. Quite very interesting and exciting. So yeah. So in this case now, I might just come here. I think if I'm interested in this, I might just copy this, and maybe probably I'm going to say figure 1, if that's in the context of what I want to do. It seems not to be getting that figure. I might just want to now save this image. Maybe somewhere in my desktop as usual. Malaria picture. Okay, I'm just gonna exit from here and quickly jump straight out here. Control C. I copied that. Okay, cool. So this is like some of the hotspots for malaria in sub-Saharan Africa. Okay. So I'm going to just put that here, figure one. I don't know what that thing is. Maybe that is okay. Let me check it out. Okay, that's figure two. Maybe that's figure one. Maybe that's the only figure I'm interested in here. Do you understand? That's fine. It's still fine. So depending on it's now up to me to put it in an appropriate. So I'm going to hit this immediately to search and look if there are figure suggestions uh, for applications, other applications. There are always now. Make sure that your literature review is very interactive. Okay, you see that I'm adding figures, so you need to make sure whether you're writing for publication or you're writing for insight, you need to make sure what it is very, very what engaging and like it. You need to make sure that it has quite some demonstrations that are relevant because those are going to be your major scoring points. All right. And yeah, funny. I still have another table here on summary of AI applications. The first one is okay. I think I'm not going to be interested in that table. Probably I'm just interested in this. Okay, I'm just gonna put that. Now also your figure has to be cited. Okay, but I'm going to just rerun this. I'm just going to say, okay, don't add any table and let's just put that. Okay, I'm being too specific or whatever. Okay, so that's just it. I'm just going to delete that. Okay, I'm going to expand this a bit and keep this in. Times neuron. So gradually we are actually stepping towards I think we should have talked about picture. Um, and there's something I always add whenever I'm prompting. I do add, some kind of critical comment, and that's like, okay, you want to say, uh, argue, assert, posit, some of those are very good, languages to use when you're writing your literature review. Okay, any piece of literature. You don't talk about literature review. We're talking about basically any piece of literature, that you're trying to, post today. And I do make use of those words. They are quite very essential for your for your work. This guy proposed this. This guy used this. It makes your work strong with criticality, and yeah, basically strong. Yeah, supports the quality of evidence that you are positing. I think I'm just going to move this table up a bit. I'm going to remove this. I think that is a malaria. Maybe you can keep it here. Maybe that's okay. So yeah, I'm gonna try to find the relevant place and okay, yeah, this is where we're making an argument about malaria abortion in sub-Saharan Africa. So this is where we refer figure one. Remember that what I'm saying is that you must cite every comment. You must cite uh everything that you put in your reference list, or any text, or any figure, any picture, any infographic. It must be cited as a text and also as a what in the document. Someone like you need to refer the reader to it from your text. It doesn't just go. It's not just going to stand there. Even when you're working on appendices and all that. Okay. Yeah, you need to make sure you refer to the text. You refer the reader through the text. Basically, that's just what I'm talking about. So yeah. So since it's going to apply for case study at some point, I think um, I might just have to roll the text in and so get it in. So I just try to make it some kind of slightly easier. So this is just a very simple, beginner's guide, adherence to some certain ethics for you to commence your write-up using AI and some of the practices you need to take. Okay, do this in I could just say maybe in 400 words. Or maybe remember I'm sticking to words, like I said, 300 words. Well cited and argue literature with strong rationale. So you can actually just add like tense it has intelligence to make it very compelling and engaging. Okay, and yeah, so just hit that in and yeah, I could just while I'm waiting for that, I could also run to prepare for the next one, which is on some of the limitations that comes with it and potential opportunities and all that. So that's all the things we need to know for getting started with artificial intelligence. That's when running your literature review. Remember, in the session some of the we did mention some of the terms that are actually very important star skills for you to have in writing literature review, and then we mentioned how you can use Zotero, which is a reference manager, to set some of the references and make sure that your literature review is quite compelling. So that's all you need to do. At the end of the day, you need to cross-check your work, rewrite the areas that we need to make sure that it's sounding in a human manner because basically academic institutions check out for use of artificial intelligence, and it's very important that while you're writing, you need to make sure you verify your sources and ensure that you don't just write anyhow, but you write smartly and decently. So I'm just going to be sharing what has actually come out from this work to the community. And yes, so basically in our next video, we might be maybe automating other things, like qualitative transcripts, how you can use AI to run qualitative studies. And maybe we'll also be looking at other advanced approaches through which how you can exploit the very best out of artificial intelligence. So until then, it's actually a pleasure to have you. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel, and definitely you're going to get the very best out of everything that you're going to be doing. So, I'll say a very big thank you to each and every one of you for staying. Thank you so much. Bye.